Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a council meeting, which will comprise two public meetings from the planning department. And I'm going to invite everyone now to join us in the singing of O Canada. I'll call upon Councillor Urick to read our land acknowledgement.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis people and their descendants, past, present, and future, who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend these waters.
Thank you, Councillor. And now I'll just invite you to join me in a moment of silent reflection on today's business. Thank you very much. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? I see none, but bring it forward if it occurs to you at any time. And just acknowledge that regrets from Councillor Forder, who is away this afternoon. And we'll get right down to business. Members of the public are encouraged to provide council with comments and questions. And those wishing to speak at the meeting are to register in advance with Legislative Services by noon on the day of the meeting. And you can do that by emailing deputyclerk@meaford.ca or calling 519-538-1060, extension 1110. And you can speak via telephone or internet during the meeting. Further details are provided at the time of registration. So we'll move right into the agenda for today. We have two public meetings, and the first is on the Community Improvement Plan, also known as SIP. We're holding this meeting to receive information and public input about a proposed update to the Community Improvement Plan for the Municipality of Meaford under Section 28(2) and 4 of the Planning Act. So I'll now call the meeting to order and we'll get right underway with I guess, sorry, I've missed a line here. This meeting is a mandatory part of the SIP update process. Notice of this public meeting was first given on November 18th. So we'll get started, and first I'm going to ask Amy Can, our Director of Development Services, to provide an overview of the SIP program and of the changes being proposed.
Thank you, Your Worship. Forgive us while we work out some technical difficulties with
Okay.
the presentation here.
It seems to be the night for technical difficulties. I'm having
yes.
my share of them.
Sometimes it's just kind of in the air, isn't it? So while the deputy clerk gets us set up, maybe I'll just carry on with the introduction. So good evening, council, members of the public and fellow staff. We're pleased to be before you tonight presenting for this public meeting for the Community Improvement Plan refresh. We're here, of course, to provide information to yourselves and to the public, and also to elicit any public comment that may come out of the draft published. So for your interest and background, notice of tonight's public meeting was given in accordance with the Planning Act, which provides our legislative guidance on these matters. That notice was given on November 18th by publication in the Meaford Independent, our local newspaper, by posting on the municipal website, and also through email circulation to our prescribed persons and public bodies under the Planning Act. A draft community improvement plan was posted online at this same time. So people had a draft that they could go and have a look at when the notice came out. Right. No, nothing? Darn it.
Is there another way that we can get the slide deck on
So for members of the public watching and following, the agenda did contain the full public meeting presentation. So hopefully everyone can follow along in that manner. Your worship, if you'd like me to pause to wait for the presentation to see if we can bring it up, we're happy to do so, or I can carry on at your call.
well, let's give a minute or so and just see if we can get it up on there. That's nothing you can help with, Bill? I'm going to give one more try here. I think, Amy, you may as well go ahead and see what you can do here. This is a mystery to me, but everything IT is a mystery to me, so.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy to carry on.
Thank you.
For the viewers at home and yourselves, if you're following on your computers, I can indicate what slide I'm on, if that's helpful as I go through. All right, so moving on to slide number 2, we have outlined a little bit of an agenda so that we can walk you through together the details of the CIP review in terms of process and what the proposed draft contains. Moving on to slide number 3. Our meeting objective tonight is twofold. First of all, we do want to present the details of the draft CIP, which noted was published online for everyone's review. And second, we do hope to receive some public comments, either orally tonight or in writing from members of the public and our partner agencies. That's what the public engagement process is for. Okay, moving on to slide number 4. Just outlining a little bit of background on the life of the municipality of Meaford CIP. So in 2008, the municipality approved the first CIP, Community Improvement Plan. Throughout this presentation, I'll just say CIP for brevity. In 2013, the municipality issued the first grant, and it was a facade grant, so an improvement to a building facade. In 2015, there was an update to the CIP program that added new incentives. 2016, the community improvement plan area was expanded to be municipality-wide, not just the downtown of urban Meaford. And a second CIP program was authored and approved, and it was known as the Economic Development CIP. In 2022, that combined document was revised. And here we are today in 2025, where we're once again taking that CIP document and updating it, correcting some areas of lacking clarity and making sure that our programs are designed to meet what it is that we want to fund and look at here in the municipality. All right, moving on to slide number 5, we asked the question and hope to clarify, what is a community improvement plan? So a CIP is a municipal tool authorized under the Planning Act and the Municipal Act that allows us to stimulate private investment within the defined community plan area. So Meaford CIP sets out a menu of programs, including grants, rebates, and tax incentives to encourage development that conforms with the community's long-term vision as set out in the community official plan, the Meaford official plan. So moving on to slide number 6. One big effort we put toward this new refresh CIP was clarifying sort of thematic objectives, what it is that we want each program to, the problem we're looking to solve with each program. So again, in keeping with the local and upper tier policy direction, the CIP aims to achieve one or more of the following objectives. So starting off, of course, with accessibility, an objective to facilitate accessibility improvements that remove barriers, enhance the built environment to allow for universal and equitable access. A second objective being cultural heritage to facilitate retention and enhancement of built cultural heritage resources and heritage properties within the municipality. Objective number 3, respecting housing to facilitate the construction of purpose-built rental and affordable housing. Objective 4, beautification to facilitate improvements to site design to enhance enjoyment and aesthetic appeal of a property. Sustainability being last but not least, of course, on our list of objectives, to facilitate improvements to a site that introduce or improve long-term sustainability of the development or to reduce environmental contaminants. So thinking of our brownfields there. And then finally, land use efficiency to facilitate increased land use efficiency through building additions or revitalization of existing built-up sites. So adding some density or adding more building to an underused site in that example. So each program is designed with those objectives in mind. Moving on to slide number 7, our community improvement area is shown on a map in that slide. That was the same community improvement area, plan area that was approved in 2022 and even the plan prior. So that's not proposed to change. The CIP area includes urban Meaford as well as our hamlets and the rural areas outside of urban Meaford. Moving on to slide number 8, we get into the menu of proposed CIP programs, which can be found in section 4 of the draft CIP. So throughout this section, you'll hear me talking about the programs individually. I may not in every moment reiterate that they're simply proposed, but to confirm, these are subject to the public process and council's approval. So nothing is written in stone at this point. Having said that, also some aspects of these plans very much are carry forwards from the 2022 plan, so not reinventing the wheel where we didn't have to. So the building and land improvement grant is the first on our list. And so that's a bit of a re-embodiment of the facade grant that was part of the original CIP. So it's intended to encourage the restoration, repair, and improvement of existing buildings and developed lands within the municipality. So taking what we already have and improving it. It's designed to incentivize improvement to heritage properties and non or multi-unit residential buildings for facade, structural improvement, accessibility, and site improvement. So I talk about non or multi-unit residential buildings. So essentially that is a term defined by the plan. It's a bit of a mouthful when to say it and to make sense of it when we hear it, but it essentially means so either non-residential buildings, so maybe a commercial, like an office building or something like that, or a multi-unit residential building being maybe an apartment building or something closer to that. So not our single detached dwellings, it's the bigger, more multi-use kind of developments. So just hopefully that makes sense, but it is a term defined by the plan. And so that building and land improvement grant does propose a 50% reimbursement of the project cost to a maximum of $7,500. So if you improve your facade and on a downtown building, we're proposing that you're eligible for 50% of that cost up to a maximum of $7,500. So moving on to the plans and studies grant under section 4.2 of the plan and listed on slide number 9. This plans and studies grant is meant to support the planning stage and ultimately to facilitate private development that's consistent with the municipality's growth and development vision outlined in the Meaford OP official plan. So the plans and studies grant plans and studies proposed to be funded are designed to support remediation of brownfields, heritage preservation, accessibility improvements, housing, sustainability, and beautification. So again, funding those things that we talk about in our overall objectives. The grant is proposed to provide a maximum grant of 50% of the study or plan cost to a maximum of $15,000 for a plan or study required for the remediation of a brownfield site, or $7,500 for a single study or plan for all other eligible studies and plans. So sort of different tiers for different complexities of study works. So multiple eligible plans or studies for one project may be considered and approved to a maximum benefit of $20,000. So if a person has maybe a more complex project and it warrants 6 different studies, the maximum increases a little bit because of the intensity of that work. So moving on to slide number 10, section 4.3 of the draft CIP, we're looking at the municipal fees and charges rebate program. So this program is intended to provide financial relief to reduce or eliminate fees and charges, including planning and building application fees, development charges, and cash in lieu of parkland dedication incurred as a result of land development. So this program is intended to benefit new housing projects and developments by or for not-for-profit and charitable organizations. So again, we did work hard to make sure that each program had sort of a unique intent in that they weren't all trying to do the same thing. So this is a program that you'll see uniquely does point out an interest in the applicant as that not-for-profit or charitable organization where if you're looking to house your local soup kitchen, this is an opportunity where just by virtue of their meeting that charitable organization status, they could benefit from this program. So reducing the competition among the programs as well by creating that uniqueness across the programs. So for this one, the maximum proposed cumulative rebate for a project is the lesser of $50,000 or 25% of the balance of the development charges reserve fund. So you'll see some of these programs do speak to the development charge reserve fund, which is council's savings account for the CIP. And so this allows us to, if we're financially able, we can build up that savings account, and it can, by virtue of that savings, then allow us to contribute more money under these certain programs. So it is something we're proposing under this new plan. The previous CIP we found in implementation did not have adequate clarity as far as the caps. It was almost unlimited benefit, depending on how it was interpreted, which financially is burdensome for the municipality. So we wanted to create a lot of clarity around that piece. So individual rebate maximums are also proposed, and those are slated at $15,000, excuse me, for Planning Act application fees, $15,000 for building permit application fees, or $20,000 for development charges and cash in lieu of parkland dedication charges. So that development charges piece as well, I'll remind council, the development charges bylaw does in and of itself have exemptions by virtue of the Development Charges Act. So we tried to be considerate of those exemptions and create, again, some unique buy-in here for this program. So we weren't doubling incentives without necessity in doing that. So moving on to slide number 11. We move to the tax increment equivalent rebate, and this is in section 4.4 of the CIP. This program is intended to reduce the financial burden of increased taxes on a private landowner that may have been triggered as a result of development. So this is the land use efficiency piece. So when you create a development that is on an existing site, perhaps you're creating more land use efficiency by adding to a building or enhancing the usability of the building. This is where this rebate comes in. So the program provides a rebate on a portion of the municipal taxes attributed to increasing the property assessment over a 10-year period for specific housing and property revitalization projects. So this program is designed to benefit purpose-built rental housing and affordable housing developments, both of which are defined in the proposed CIP, and affordable housing is otherwise defined provincially as well. So it's also designed to benefit existing non or multi-unit residential building additions, expansion, or revitalizations. So the max incentive proposed here is the lesser of 50,000 or 25% of the CIP reserve fund at the time of application. So again, trying to build in that check and balance financially for us. Okay. Section 4.5 of the CIP speaks to the Brownfield Tax Incentive Tax Assistance Program. This is on slide number 12. It is intended to facilitate the remediation of brownfield sites within the municipality, many of which being, of course, in our urban core. This program really hasn't been changed or modified greatly. We've tidied up the wording a little bit, but this remains pretty unchanged from the 2022 version. So allowing during the remediation period when an applicant is cleaning up their site, they have a chance to sort of save or pause on those taxes that they incur during that time, just again to provide a bit of relief. And the last program we'll go through on slide number 13, section 4.6 of the draft CIP. Is intended to allow the municipality or the county to offer surplus land or buildings at a reduced or no cost for the purposes of housing. I did add in the proposed wording an opportunity for the municipality or the county to offer other types of land uses, other project types or land uses may be considered under the program. So not just housing. Again, thinking about the great many opportunities for projects that might meet council's priorities at the local level and at the county level. And so that would be subject to, in any case, an RFP process where local council or the county council can outline what it is they're looking for to get as far as a user or development type out of that surplus land and building. So again, otherwise that program is fairly unchanged and really is developed on a case-by-case basis by the municipality or the county, whoever's offering the surplus land or building. So moving on to slide number 14, I'll pass it over to Jessica to talk a little bit about our success stories over the last year or so.
Hi, thank you. And through you, your worship. So here in slide number 14, we've got 72 Sykes Street North. This building has been multiple things over the years. It was originally built in 1874, and it's been everything from a spa to a butcher, and now it's currently the Dam Pub. The Dam Pub received a CIP to work on the facade, the building permit fee grant program, upgrade the building code for accessibility loan, and an energy efficient retrofit grant. So as you can tell, they've done a really lovely job as far as making the front entrance accessible with a new door. They've also, the back door of this building also received a new door that's accessible. There's the bathrooms are accessible as well. They've replaced the windows, and then obviously the sign, and they also replaced the HVAC system in this building. And then slide number 15, 26 Nelson Street, which is currently Station 87. This was built in 1887, and it was a fire station until 2003. I thought it was interesting that the bell tower was completed in the 1900s. I thought that was kind of interesting. So this specific CIP received repair to the masonry, it restored obviously the entranceway, new signage, exterior lighting, barrier-free washrooms, structural repairs to the interior walls and the ceilings. Additional metal exterior staircase was added, and replacement of the deteriorated roof and the rooftop patio. And then it was converted to a restaurant, which also required HVAC as well. So those are some of the CIPs that have taken place thus far. Thank you.
Back to me, your worship. So just wrapping up here, I'll let you know about the next steps. So slide number 16 details, tonight we're having the public meeting, December 8th. From here, we will review and revise that draft CIP based on further work that we've done internally, consultation with our partner agencies, and of course, the public comments that we receive. So looking forward to bringing you a final draft of the CIP January 2026, so that we can get back into a new year of administering this great program. And then finally on slide 17, just a bit of a detailing of how to get in touch with us. So happy to receive oral comments tonight at this public meeting. Written comments should be directed to us at the municipality via email at ecdev@meaford.ca. And our project website is still live and is being updated as any new information comes forward. And that's available at www.meaford.ca/CIP. And that's everything for me, Your Worship. Happy to answer any questions if you have.
Yep, thank you very much, Amy. So there were no pre-registrations to speak in person at the meeting by members of the public. We have one member of the public who I know is very interested in this because he administered a lot of these programs over the years for the province. And I'm just wondering if you wish to speak at all, Reid, you'd be very welcome. Just state your name and maybe your affiliation with one of our advisory committees.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name's Reid Barrett. I'm a long-term resident here, and I am on the current advisory committee for economic development, growing the economy, I should say. I applaud the municipality for taking a really good look at this program, and I know it's been used very successfully in other communities. So that's my interest. I think it's a great tool to really preserve the things that you want in a community and offer some incentive for the direction in which you want it to go, which should be a vision. And I think we have the vision in the OP, but it would be really helpful to define a community vision. Anyways, a couple of questions, and thank you for that presentation. It was very succinct. I think we know that additional residences in a downtown core is a positive thing. I know that Toronto, when they are talking about redoing Ontario Place, part of the reason that it never worked, it was an event area that nobody lived in. So it didn't have a, should I say, a pulse. It didn't, when it was vacant, it was vacant. And to have people actually living in a downtown core is not a bad thing. My question would be that if somebody wants to redo an upper apartment or whatnot, would it have to be a long-term rental or could it be an Airbnb?
Would you like a response to that?
If it's possible.
Yeah, Amy?
Thank you, Your Worship. Happy to answer that. The current iteration of the CIP doesn't consider tenure as far as whether or not dollars can go to that. That use, other parameters may limit an Airbnb by virtue of, again, that definition of multi-unit residential has to be in excess. I believe we're proposing 7 units. So a single unit may not benefit by virtue of being a rental apartment or an apartment. It may be able to benefit in other ways. So for example, if the building requires masonry repointing, then there's other opportunities through the program in that regard. So nothing specific to short-term rentals or low-density rental apartments, if that helps.
Okay, thank you. One further question I had is regarding the plans and studies. Are they the plans and studies that are outlined in what's required for building, or can they be a plan or study that just the owner wants to do? Like, is there any kind of definition of what's included and what's excluded?
Happy to answer that, Your Worship. I believe that Mr. Barrett's referring likely to the matters of completeness under the Planning Act that were required as staff to sort of outline for the applicant, and whether or not the funded studies have to be on that list. I have never seen applicants sort of doing plans and studies just for the fun of it. However, that would be amazing if we could see that. So I don't think there's any, reason necessarily why it has to be a matter of completeness, or whether it for some other reason is just being completed for the good of the site. So that's not an eligibility requirement at this time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's all the questions I have right now. I may have more as we proceed, but
Sure.
thank you very much for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you. Councilors, questions, input? Start with Councilor Greenfield.
Your worship, and thank you, Director Amy, for that presentation, and thanks to Mr. Barrett too for his questions. I've got 2 or 3 questions, but anyway, first thing, just a comment. A lot of good initiatives. I wonder, not all of our slides had the dollar amounts on it. Now, you did mention them on your way through, and unfortunately, I didn't get all of the details down. So could you send those numbers to council members just so I'd have them to check on? I really really glad to see accessibility mentioned a couple of times in your report. That's very important for a goodly number of people. I just wonder, on slide 4.3, it mentions the program is intended to benefit new housing projects and developments by or for not-for-profit and charitable organizations. I wondered if after benefit and before new housing projects, if we could put the word only in, stressing that. I don't ask me why, but when I read that, that just came to mind is benefit only new housing projects for nonprofit and charitable organizations. Great incentives, great ideas, but I just wonder if we could emphasize that a little bit. The only other question I have right now is back when we started the CIP, for renovations, facades, or any type of renovations in buildings that made applications, we stressed greening initiatives for construction items, construction materials aligned with climate change incentives. I didn't see that any place here, and I hope we're not putting that aside. I hope that's still a prime goal to consider when anyone comes forward with their plan. Okay, I'll digress and let other members.
Deputy Mayor Keaveney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Amy and Jessica for your presentations today, and thank you, Mr. Barrett, for joining us. We appreciate that. I did have a couple of questions, if I may. Director Can, may I ask your thoughts, recognizing that with the newly passed bill at the province, which permits the county, should Grey County decide to go forward with their own CIP plan, and I think that's kind of exciting. So I'm just wondering if you have any initial thoughts on what type of collaborations might be possible if the county has a plan and we have a revised plan. It just seems to me that there should be lots of opportunities to do great things together, and hopefully at that point we'd have opportunity to provide some comments to the county along with other lower tiers to create a situation that would just really benefit both potentially our affordable housing and other projects going forward, in our case in Meaford. So I just wondered if you had any initial thoughts on what collaborations might be possible should a county CIP come to fruition.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you, Your Worship. That's a great note. I do think, in a little time I've been here, we already seem to have a great relationship with ECDEV staff, certainly and planning staff at the County of Grey. The 2022 plan, as well as the draft before you, does match sort of the intent and guidance provided to the county through their sort of template CIP that they crafted several years ago. We do have comment, which you'll see in your final recommendation report from the County of Grey. They've reported no objection on the wording proposed here before you today. But as things change and evolve, certainly from the province down, we will collaborate with the county from both the dollars perspective and the policy perspective. So always happy to do that.
Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And a revamping of the CHIP program has been something that's been needed for a period of time. One of the things that did come to the forefront was out in the rural community, and comment was made that how does someone putting in something in their house or on their barn basically do something for the community using the access to these funds. So I really like on our page 9, of course, this is saying that this is all inclusive for the entire municipality, wherever you live. It's not restricted, it's open like it was. And then on the previous page, you've got the major headings. So I think one of the things that I would like maybe to see when we get further down the road on this one is the last main heading you've got is land use efficiency. So if we're out in the rural community and someone wants to take out a fence line, and it's not hard to run through a lot of tens of thousands of dollars clearing that, would that still, and that type of thing located somewhere else, still have access to this because it's a main heading? And I think that maybe within this structure, some clarification might be that wherever you live, if you're doing this, that this is available to you if you choose to do it, and it still qualifies. Because one of the things from a previous counselor was, how does someone who qualifies under the program have a reflection on what we're really trying to do? So I like the headings. The headings are all great. It gives a direction for people to think about, but I just think that maybe some focus on what the rural people, is that being your rural gate when you're trying to market your product out front? What does that mean? Can you do that? Just a few examples. So maybe it might even spur some people on to say, hey, there is a program there and I really can access this. And this is something that would really be neat for us to do because, maybe they're not aware. And then those that are aware, I'm glad that we're looking at a refresh here. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Amy. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and to Councillor Bell. Thank you for prompting a note on the rural agricultural areas of our large municipality. Lots of landowners in that category, right? So because of the swiftness, we wanted to take this refresh through. We did focus on a revamp of the existing programs and on those community benefits. So we have a lot of great ideas about programs that can be designed to benefit rural and agricultural landowners. Because there's a whole suite of other issues and opportunities that farmers and rural landowners deal with that could have CIP programs designed and catered to that group. So the rural programs I'm going to propose will come back maybe in a second phase, because there's a great amount of opportunity to create community benefit from that perspective. So
Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for presentation, Amy. There were a couple of comments we received, obviously through correspondence. I'm just gonna kind of ask on their behalf a couple of questions. One is, the one person did mention that there used to be an offer of financing for the CIP program. They were wondering whether it was going to be made available again. Some owners don't have deep pockets, so whether financing contingency is going to be available as well again is a question I was curious about as well.
Through you, Your Worship. As we sort of clarified in the initial report coming from staff, we are proposing to remove the loan programs from the CIP. Administratively, they're very burdensome, and financially, it is very difficult for the municipality to act as a bank for all intents and purposes. So we do hope to sort of shift that energy into the other programs. Certainly at council's discretion on that, but that's the proposal at this time.
Right. One clarification. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm thinking off the top of my head kind of about housing and recognizing that there are certain types of housing that we need to attract to this municipality, such as rental units and affordable housing, and wondering through the CIP if there is a potential for prioritizing any particular or additional benefits for attracting those types of housing that we are lacking at this point.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you, Your Worship. So affordable housing and purpose-built rental are both really the only housing types that are proposed to be sort of incentivized through the CIP. A number of different programs do in different ways proposed to benefit those types of land uses, because I agree they are needed, and using this as a tool to incentivize that type of housing is the point. So
Another one, go ahead.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I did have one last question. And maybe this thought is already covered within the CIP, but I'm wondering, we talk about brownfields and facades and so on. And if we think about the occasional condemned building, does a condemned building fall within the policies as they are presented, or is there anything we could do additionally to support an investor who is willing to take on a condemned building, perhaps within a heritage district, that might encourage the revitalization of that property rather than to see it get to a point of having to be demolished?
another great question through you, Your Worship. Every application, of course, will be evaluated on its own merits, but certainly within the Heritage Conservation District, a building that was in bad disrepair, we're still struggling with the tech here, I think would be able to benefit from the TEAG, for example, so the tier, the tax increment equivalency for that, taking it from one tax class up into another by virtue of the revitalization, and likely the many benefits that are proposed to get at that heritage piece in the Heritage Conservation District. So the facade grants, accessibility grants, landscape improvement grants, all of those are proposed under that first program, the lands and building and land improvement grant. So hoping that we don't see our heritage assets removed. That's again, part of the point of the CIP, certainly. So.
Councillor Yurick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Piggybacking on that a little bit. So when you talk about the brownfields, you can think of a couple in downtown Meaford that aren't very attractive, I think, to buyers because of the required remediation. So again, one of the correspondence we received alluded to the tax increment equivalent rebate, the tier program. And we have a 3-year tax assistance horizon, and they're just asking about whether there was, how we decided on that versus that one being, for example, a 10-year horizon. Just what the thinking was that went behind coming up with a 3-year period.
A great question, through your worship. Those were actually carry forwards from the 2022 plan. Again, that 10-year time horizon is pretty typical of the tier program and other CIPs across the province. And the 3-year cap for the brownfield tax incentive was a carry forward. So certainly if it is something that council would like to see lengthened, we can certainly look at that. It is a bit of a dance figuring out how to, create the right mix of criteria and eligibility points so that we can make the programs meaningful and really target them at the programs we want, while in the use of public dollars, staying fiscally responsible. So it is a bit of a dance. So I'm open to feedback on that, certainly.
Well, thank you. That's great, because I would have thought, yeah, if 10 is kind of a standard that's out there, just wonder why we landed. And it might be a good point of conversation to at least entertain and see how that could work. And again, as you alluded to, the Deputy Mayor, about circumstances over cases, depending on the application, depending on the desired output, then that might have more appetite. So I totally get that. In concert with that, because of one of the other points they brought up was the stacking of other tax assistance programs. And again, if it isn't hurting us and they're stacking it, but it's whether that's going to be allowable, seems to be a logical thing to do if there are relevant, pertinent, that aren't damaging to us. Just want to make sure that we look at that assistance program as well, because it's to our benefit eventually if the taxpayer or if the builder can stack tax assistance programs to end up coming out with a program. Should there be a reason we wouldn't do it? So it's something else I think we should look at.
Councillor Ennis.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I was just thinking about, I don't remember if I saw this written anywhere, but if somebody makes an application, who ultimately decides to go ahead with it? I can't recall if that's a staff decision or if that's a council decision.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Ennis, and through your worship. So staff would receive the application and process it, basically A/B it with the terms of the CIP program. We would write a recommendation report for council's consideration. So council would approve or whatever.
Councillor Greenfield.
Your worship, briefly, just going back to the brownfield discussion that seems to have been mentioned quite often the last 20 minutes or so. Amy, I'm assuming the definition of a brownfield is dictated by the province, provincial legislation. Can municipalities add or subtract to that definition, or is it etched in stone by Queen's Park? I can think of a number of properties in town that, and I wonder, hey, is that applicable or not? Or can you help me on that?
Yes, through your worship. So yes, the Environmental Protection Act does define what a brownfield is and the steps that need to be taken in order to remediate it. So it is very strictly defined by the province existing legislation. So it is possible for us at the municipal level to define the scale and scope of the incentive provided, but exactly what a brownfield is already defined by qualified persons, and they have their work to do, those engineers and everybody doing that site cleanup. So that's pretty strictly defined already.
And Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know we didn't touch on it in this presentation, but just wondering, Amy, if you could share, because my understanding is that we're not going to review applications anymore on sort of a first come, first come basis, that are going to be reviewed collectively on a, quarterly type of basis, so that it seems to me to just be more fair because I know last year we ended up with applications and they were just too late. There weren't any funds left. So that question, as well as, do we know the current reserve balance in the CIP account?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The reserve balance, I believe I authored into the initial report, and if I'm remembering correctly, it was just in excess of $200,000. And that may also be subject to some sort of hangover loan agreements and that kind of thing that may be slated to come out of that. And then your second question has escaped me already.
Sorry, it was just about the timing of when applications would be reviewed rather than a first come, first served.
Yes, so we did adjust the cadence on possibly just one program, the Building and Land Improvement Grant. Maybe also, no, I think it's just that one, if I remember correctly, where there is an intake period so that, to your point, all the applicants can be considered fairly. And so everybody has a chance to be a recipient of that grant. And it's not like, oh, sorry, it's too little, too late kind of thing at the end of the year. So that's something we can try. I do think it's common for an intake period to be typical. So we are proposing the intake for the Building and Land Improvement Grant. Yes.
Councillor Ennis?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. What do we expect the like the rebuild of the reserve to be like every year? How much kind of goes back into it? It probably varies, but like I'm just trying to get a picture in my head of like, okay, we have 200 now, and then we go through a grant year, and the next year we can expect however much to sort of flow back in.
Yes, that is certainly subject to council approval through the annual budget process.
Right.
It is my understanding that in the most recent years, the CIP program grants and that kind of thing have actually been funded from the reserve. So no additional monies have been allocated to build the reserve. So that is a question that we could discuss more in budget deliberations if it's the wish of council.
Thank you. If that's sort of the end of questions from council, I just have a couple of my own. I am aware that some applicants discovered that there were financial implications for them in connection with these grants or programs, and you haven't had a lot of time to review this, and I wondered, have you had a chance to ferret out some of those issues and maybe eliminate them going forward?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. We have, again, I have only been here for 6 or 8 months or so, but I do believe we've had a good amount of time in that period to look into some of the pain points. And as I spoke about early in the presentation, the lack of clarity around the criteria for eligibility in the CIP programs individually, and also the internal process for how those the applications are processed. So we have in this draft document, and also internally process-wise, we've already begun mapping the process out so that those technical issues, administrative issues don't plague our applicants.
I want to salute you because I was really worried when I heard that we were going to pause the program. I thought, oh no, there goes a year, because it often takes a year to get anything done. And I don't mean that sarcastically either. It does take time. So I'm so thrilled to see a turnaround this fast and some fresh ideas and solutions to some of the difficulties we've had with the program. So just congratulations to all staff on that. And I think that is pretty much summarizes this meeting. I want to thank everyone for attending and sharing your thoughts on the application. So now this matter goes back to staff, and a detailed report will be brought back to council to assist us in our decision-making. The report will also consider any public and agency comments received regarding the proposed changes. And I just want to remind everyone who's interested, if you would like to receive notice of a future decision on this file, please provide your contact information to the Economic Development Division by email at ecdev@meaford.ca. ecdev@meaford.ca. Thank you. And now, before I start the next part of the program, are we going to have a similar problem with the slide deck for it?
I think I got it working. I think I got
That's
it working.
great. Thank you. Okay. I want to welcome everyone to the second half of our meeting to learn about a proposal to amend the land use planning permissions applying to certain lands in the municipality of Meaford. Council is legally required to make decisions that conform to the county and local official plans. Our policies encourage us to reach out to community stakeholders to gather information. We have a variety of legal tools available to us that we can apply to development to help us manage change in a positive manner with as minimal an impact as possible, and your insights can be part of what informs our direction. Those in attendance for today's meetings have an opportunity to speak in person or remotely if prearranged through Zoom. This meeting is not structured as a dialogue between speakers and the applicant. However, the applicant may take the opportunity to respond to comments toward the end of the meeting if they wish. Note that in many cases, formulating responses may require that staff carry out research after the meeting on the matters raised and provide answers following the meeting or through their report to council. And I'll call this second meeting to order now, a public meeting to consider a zoning bylaw amendment for the lands at 599-237 Second Concession North in Meaford. This meeting is a mandatory part of the planning process, which has been set out by the Planning Act. Based on the rules of the Act, there must be at least 20 days' notice given to residents within 120 meters of the property. Notice of the zoning bylaw amendment was issued on November 18th, giving the required 20 days' notice. And I'm going to call now on Michael Kelly, planner at the municipality of Meaford, to give us a brief presentation about this application and to provide us with any public and agency comments that have been received to date. Michael?
There we go. Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor. So as stated, this presentation is related to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for the lands at 599-237 Second Concession North. The purpose of this meeting is to hear a presentation from planning staff with some of the details of the subject lands in the planning application and to provide the public with a forum for members of the public to provide comments on the proposal. So here we can see the location of the subject lands. It sits in the rural area within the municipality and fronts on Second Concession North. Subject property is developed with an existing agricultural operation. There is a water course that flows through the property from north to south. The surrounding lands are comprised of residential and agricultural uses. So as a condition of a provisionally approved consent for a severance of a surplus farm dwelling, the property owner is required to rezone the retained parcel, the farmlands, to prohibit any future residential development. For some context, this is the existing zoning of the property. The property is split between the agricultural and rural zone, with a portion of the property zoned as environmental protection. This is the proposal. The areas marked with the -X will be the parts rezoned to prohibit residential development. For some background on this file, part of the property is designated as agricultural within the municipal and county official plans. The agricultural designation covers the areas of the municipality which contain prime agricultural soils. In order to protect these soils for agriculture, severances for new lots are generally prohibited unless the new lot is at least 40 hectares in size. An exception to this requirement is permitted in a situation where a bona fide farmer wishes to sever off a farm dwelling surplus to their operation as a result of farm consolidations. There are a number of conditions to this exception that were addressed during the severance process, but the ones we are dealing with here is that the remnant farmland after a severance is rezoned to prohibit any future residential development. As a result, the applicant has applied for the zoning amendment to fulfill that condition. So the county official plan designation of the property is rural, agricultural, and hazard lands. Permitted uses in the rural designation include agricultural, residential, and accessory residential uses. Building and structures are not permitted in hazard lands, and no uses are proposed in the hazard land areas. The agricultural designation permits agricultural and agriculturally related uses. The Meaford official plan designation is also agricultural, rural, and environmental protection. The policies and permissions are largely the same as Great Counties. So I've already covered this briefly, but this is the existing zoning on the parcel. The rural zone permits a range of agricultural and residential uses. The agricultural zone permits agricultural uses and accessory residential uses. The EP zone generally does not allow development. No development is proposed in the EP zone. So this slide represents where we are in the process. After this meeting, planning staff will take all comments received and complete a review of the application and bring back a report to council at a future meeting with responses to any outstanding comments as well as a recommendation. At that meeting, council will make a final decision on the application and will enter the statutory appeal period. This slide shows how to get a hold of us if any of the members of public have any comments on what they have seen today. And I'll briefly go through the comments received as of today. So comments were received from Grey County Planning and Ecology staff stating that they had no concerns with the application as proposed. The Historic Saugeen Métis Lands, Waters, and Consultation Department submitted comments stating no objection to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment as presented, and no other comments have been received as of this time.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And I believe the applicant, Scott Crowther, is attending virtually. Are you there, Scott?
Yes, I am.
Great, you're coming through loud and clear. So would you like to speak to your application?
No, just thank you for reviewing and take the time to look it over. But I have no further comments on the application.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't believe anyone in the audience has any comment on this. Councilors, Councilor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. You did say, Michael, there were comments from both county and the Historic Saugeen Métis. Didn't say anything from Grey Sauble. Had they not commented on that yet, or?
So through you, Mr. Mayor. So Grey Sauble did comment on the severance application stating no concerns, which contained this, but formally on this application, they have not yet given comments.
Councilor Greenfield.
Thanks, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Just wondering, going back to the Committee of Adjustment process with this, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that a condition of this severance was that on the retained agricultural lands, there was to be never to be a residential building put on those lands. I just wondered, first of all, is that still the case? And secondly, the word never is never. It's ag out near the road. It's rural to the east of that, the eastern part of the land. I'm just wondering why in the future there could not be, if someone wanted to, build a residence on the remaining property.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor. So the reason that this is restricted in this way is because the province has taken it as a priority to protect prime agricultural soils. The front half of this parcel is prime agricultural soils and as such is designated agricultural in the official plans. As part of the official plans, in order to sever a property that is smaller than 40 hectares in the agricultural area, you have to meet certain conditions. One of those conditions is that the remnant parcel is always zoned to not permit residential use in the future. So the reason that they are having to rezone this is to cover those protections for those soils at the front of the parcel, if that makes sense.
Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this council has seen these kinds of applications in the past. I think the one that we looked at not that long ago was down in Balaclava, where the same thing occurred. A farmer wanted to buy the land, he got the land. There was a house and a barn and so on, a drive-in shed. It's the same thing here. They've already started to do some major improvements of the lands that are there. Just as a side note, any interest, that particular 100-acre farm was probably one of the very first settled areas in Sydenham Township. And the pioneers that took out the actual first deed had a crown deed, and that crown deed is at the Grey Roots Museum. So it was kind of pretty neat. So as far as the distance of that house, if you look on page 22, you can see where the original home and the barn and was basically located almost smack dab in the middle of the old 100 acres. That laneway is the best part of 3/4 of a kilometer back in. So when the applicant now wishes to do the laneway and the house and the barn, I don't have a problem with them doing that. The landowner wants to be an agricultural provider, work the land, and having this house and the barn and the laneway, I don't have a problem with them doing that at all. I think it'll be interesting to see who the new neighbors might be that might wish to have a long laneway like that and live out here in one of the very early settled areas in the former township of Sydenham. So it's kind of neat to see how the changes do occur over time, and I can support this application. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Okay, then in that case, I think we can just conclude the meeting. I want to thank everyone for attending and sharing your thoughts on this application. This matter will now be referred back to Development Services to follow up on any additional information required from the applicant based on the matters raised today. And once staff are satisfied that they have all necessary information needed to provide a recommendation on the application, a detailed planning report will be brought back to council to assist us in our decision-making. This report will evaluate how the proposal either does or does not satisfy the provincial, county, and municipal policies that must be considered as part of council's decision. It will also explore the various public and agency comments received regarding the application, noting those tools which may be applied in order to address concerns raised and to mitigate potential impacts on nearby properties. If you would like to receive notice of a future decision on this file, please provide your contact information to the Planning Services Division by email at planning@meaford.ca. That's planning@meaford.ca. And with that, I'm going to declare this meeting. We do have a confirming bylaw. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will just say thank you to those who are participating in the two planning meetings. And before we adjourn, we have this proposal, recommendation. But that's not it. Here it is. Be back over here. The recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2025-73 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting of council of the corporation of the municipality of Meaford be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. A mover and a seconder, Councillor Greenfield and Councillor Uhrig. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. And with that, we can adjourn today's meeting.